Are you thinking about moving to Central Florida and living on the coast? I'm going to tell you some things about living on the Space Coast that you probably didn't think about, so stick around. What's up, everybody? My name is Joey Guest, and I'm a real estate agent right here in Central Florida on the Space Coast. We've been talking to a lot of people recently that want to get out of the Northeast or Western states and move to Florida. Why? Because Florida is awesome. Actually, if you think Florida is awesome too, hit that like button real quick and let us know. Okay, in all seriousness, I know for some of you, that place that you live and love and call home may not be the same as it used to be, and that might be why you're looking at Florida as your new home. And I honestly can't imagine what it would be like if things changed here in Florida so much that I would be ready to pick up and move away. But there are a lot of things that people don't take into consideration when they want to move to coastal Central Florida. We have people call and say, hey, I want to move to Florida and I want to be on the coast. I want to be on the beach or at least right by the beach. And I don't think they actually factor in and consider some of the costs that are associated with living on the coast. Right now, the situation with homeowners insurance in Florida, especially right here in Brevard County, is an absolute mess. The cost is easily doubled, tripled, or in some cases even quadrupled for a lot of coastal Florida homeowners. And in fact, we're even seeing a lot of people who are just getting cancellation and notices of non-renewal for their insurance companies. And right now, beachside or really on any of the barrier islands, there seems to be really only one option for insurance, at least consistently, and that's Citizens. They seem to be one of the only carriers that's consistently binding new policies on the barrier islands. So insurance options are extremely limited and they're becoming very costly. A lot of people aren't pricing insurance early enough into their transaction, or they are significantly underestimating the cost of insurance. And once they get into the process and they find out how much it's actually going to cost to insure the home that they want, which is either beachside or on a barrier island, it's having a dramatic impact on their purchasing power. And a lot of people think the reason that insurance in Florida has gotten so outrageous, especially here on the Space Coast, is because of hurricanes, when in reality it's actually due to the assignment of benefits on roofing claims. I'm not going to go too deep into that right now, but essentially what's been going on for the past 10 years in Florida is roofers are charging the insurance companies, say, $30,000 for a roof that should only cost $10,000 to replace. And what the homeowner does is they assign the benefits over to the roofing company. You've probably heard things of like predatory insurance practices or storm chasers. And essentially what they're doing is they're charging 3, maybe 4 times what the actual cost of replacement is. And that is now having a significant negative impact on our insurance market in Florida, especially here on the Space Coast. And since we're talking about hurricanes, another thing that a lot of people don't factor in is when we do get impacted by a named storm and they decide to issue an evacuation, which fortunately hasn't happened in quite a few years now, they essentially shut down the causeways to and from the barrier island. So if you decide to stay or your hurricane preps aren't in place, if those causeways are shut down and we lose power on the islands, or we run out of gas, or fuel costs get crazy where it could be $1 more on the island, you may be stuck until they decide to open up the causeways. And essentially, they're going to triage and prioritize what the most important things are in assessing damage after storm. And sometimes it could take days, if not weeks, to essentially deem the causeway safe before people can get on and off the island. The state of Florida has some pretty serious regulations against price gouging, but the reality is it still happens when a storm is on its way or just after a storm. Prices on fuel, generators, or supplies seems to skyrocket. I mean, supply and demand obviously drives that market. So having your hurricane preps in place is essential to making life on the islands so much easier. And in fact, we've got some really cool hurricane prep hacks that'll make this a lot easier to prep for hurricanes. And when it's not hurricane season, it's not going to take up as much room in your house or in your garage. If that's something you're interested in, let us know down in the comments. Type hurricane hacks and we'll make a follow-up video about that. Okay, so since we just talked about hurricanes, let's look at the weather now. Well, another thing that a lot of people don't consider, especially when they're moving to the Space Coast or anywhere coastal Florida, is the inconsistency in unpredictability of our weather. A lot of people don't realize that our weather here can change in the blink of an eye, so making sure that you have rain gear or all weather gear on hand at all times is essential. Another thing people don't factor in is having some type of covered parking that's attached to your dwelling. We see people all the time, they'll buy these mid-century condos and maybe it has covered parking, but there's actually no covered way to get from your vehicle to your unit. And in the summertime, when we have just these unpredictable changes of weather, regular thunderstorms, it makes it really inconvenient if you're trying to get from your vehicle to your unit, especially if you've just gone to the grocery store. A lot of older homes too, they may have carports, or maybe they've had a garage that's been converted into additional living space. So having covered parking that's attached to your unit is absolutely essential. All right, so now let's talk about living on the water. Obviously, one of the best things about Florida are our waterways, whether it's the oceans, the rivers, our freshwater lakes. I mean, we have, in my opinion, the best opportunities to take advantage of waterfront lifestyle in the entire country. But one thing that a lot of people don't consider is a lot of our shorelines on our waterways are actually protected. So we'll see them buy a property and they just assume that they can clear the whole thing and put a nice white sandy beach, and that isn't always the case. And if so, sometimes it's extremely costly. Another thing that we see is people will buy something waterfront without really understanding where they have deep water access, or if they have deep water access, or really understanding how to navigate the waterways that they're buying a home on. And they just assume that they're on the water and they can get wherever they want to go, and that isn't the case. Or it's not the case in the vessel or the boat that they want to use. There could be height restrictions, there could be deep water access not right off of their boat slip. And so a lot of people don't really understand that until after they buy a property. So make sure if you guys are interested in waterfront, you call, text, or email us. I've got that down here in the description, and we can help you guys navigate your waterways and your waterfront property. And the other thing too, if you are out on the water, listen, there are lots of rules and regulations regarding your vessel and how to operate it. A lot of people just think when they get on the water, they can get a jet ski and it's an absolute free-for-all, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. So make sure that you understand the rules and regulations of the waterways before you get out there. The other request that we get from a lot of people who are wanting to be waterfront, or at least have a nice water view, is they'll specifically request to be on a body of water or have access to a body of water that doesn't have any alligators. And essentially that doesn't exist. Alligators were here long before us humans inhabited Florida. You just need to assume that every single body of water, no matter how big or small it is going to have a gator in it at some point in time. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that one's gonna walk right up and knock on your back door. There's obviously bodies of water that are known to have a much higher alligator population compared to others, but essentially any body of water in the state of Florida is going to have gators in it at some point in time. Now, since we're on the critter topic, it's no secret that the mosquitoes in Florida are horrible, but another thing that a lot of people don't know about are love bugs. Now, the love bugs are more of a nuisance than anything. They don't bite. They really don't do anything other than just ruin the paint on your car. And when it's really bad, you'll be outside trying to talk and it's like they fly in your mouth. It's really annoying. There's not a whole lot we can do about it, but a lot of people don't even know that they exist. And it's one of the most annoying things that we have here in Florida. All right, so now let's look at the environment. Obviously, we talked about the waterways, we talked about the beaches, the rivers. Florida has some of the best natural resources in the country. So another thing that we see often is people will come here, even if it's just on the weekends, to hang out and take advantage of the riverways, or they'll move here and they'll park on the side of the road right off of the river and just have a whatever. They'll cook out, they'll have parties, they'll drive their jet skis, do whatever, but they put their trash, they pick up their trash, but they put it in trash bags and they leave it on the side of the road, assuming that the county or somebody, I don't know who they think is going to pick it up, but they think someone's going to come pick up their trash. Well, the reality is the first person that gets to it are the raccoons, and all they do is rip it open and they leave trash everywhere. So make sure that you guys pick up your trash after yourselves, no matter what you're doing, whether you're just visiting, you're moving here, or you're a local. Take your trash with you, throw it in a dumpster, find a trash can, but just don't leave it on the side of the road in a trash bag. Now, since we talked about trash and the fact that the local government doesn't necessarily pick it up, Brevard County and the state of Florida actually do have some programs in place where they're trying to make some of these things a little bit easier for residents and guests coming to Brevard County. Another thing that we have is the Indian River Lagoon Restoration Project, where specifically here in Brevard County, as a community, us residents voted on a 1/2-cent sales tax increase to fund that program, which is essentially restoring our lagoon. So this program is actually projected to remove like 1.3 million pounds of excess nitrogen and 105 1,000 pounds of phosphorus annually from the lagoon system. So it's something that's really important to us here in Brevard County. So just make sure that you do your part too to help us preserve our lagoon. The lagoon and the beaches are two of the best things about living here, and making sure that we preserve them is super important to the locals. All right, so speaking of the locals, one of the other problems that sometimes people experience when moving here is actually getting along with the locals. The last thing you want to do when you move to a new place is piss off the local residents, but I see it happen. And don't get me wrong, the people here on the Space Coast are absolutely amazing. There's such a sense of community and pride. People love supporting local businesses. And once you settle in, it's such a great place to be. But you have to remember, people here love the community the way that it is. But what they don't love is people moving here from other places and trying to change things. The best advice I can give you is if you're moving here from another state or even another part of Florida, is don't try to bring where you're moving from with you. So don't push where you came from on the people here, and you will settle in just fine. All right, so if our ridiculous insurance rates, unpredictable weather, alligators, snakes, mosquitoes, love bugs, and freedom-loving Floridians haven't scared you off and you're still considering a move to Central Florida or on the Space Coast, call, text, or email us, and we'd love to connect with you and see what we can do to help. And if you thought this video was helpful, let us know by hitting that like button down below, subscribe to the channel here, and watch this video next. We'll see you next time.